Hello everyone, welcome back to another video going over yet another card game produced by Bandai titled Union Arena. This is a new game that will be coming out in October of 2024 in the English region, but in Japan and Asia it's been out for a while and they have multiple different IPs or animes that they already have turned into a card game. In today's video we're going to be going over what it is, what the card game's about, essentially the schedule for how the cards are going to be released, and then about the rules, because there is one set of rules to learn, and then you know how to play every single anime every single anime card. The first rule, just to note right now, you can only have in a deck, you can only have one anime of your choice. You can't have Hunter x Hunter cards and Bleach cards in your deck. If you choose Hunter, you only have Hunter cards in there. But the first three animes that we have for the English release are Bleach, Hunter, and JJK. So I believe Bleach and Hunter are coming out at the exact same time, and then the following month JJK will come out. They do have a website, so they have, a bunch of little information on here. There's some cards that they show off over here. Here on their about page, it says, what is it? It's a Union Arena is a common rules trading card game, so when you learn one set of rules, you know how to play the game for every single series. Promotional video, they show off some cards. The cards look really nice. There's a lot of different, art styles. It looks really good. It's honestly a really good card collecting game too. Like, if you don't want to play the game, like, the cards look awesome. They did show off some cards in the North America Nats for Bandai, where they had these cards in person and they look really good in person. All the little titles here, so Demon Slayer, Code Geass, the ones that we saw on the home screen. And then they also have a type of, if you're coming from One Piece, a signature card where it's gone, and then this is the signature from the guy that made the series. So it just shows the Hunter one, but I feel like they would have one for every single anime series that they come out with. So that's, pretty cool. There is a trial event that you can do on the website, and it shows you how to play the game, runs you through all the little different steps, and then you can play an actual full game at the end once you go through all the little training stuff. And you're actually playing with the full Hunter x Hunter starter deck in this. So they have announced that there is a pre-release for this game, and if you want to get some practice with the Hunter starter deck, then you can play this and get some practice on it. And then it talks about what you need to play. There's action points, which we'll get into when we go over the rules. And then there's character cards, field cards, and event cards, and it's a 50 card deck. So, 50 cards, 4 of each card. There's some little intricacies that we'll go over in the rules, and then they have the rules page on the thing. Now, here is the event schedule for the game. It also has events, or the event schedule and then the release schedule is what I should have said. There is going to be a pre-release for every single title. There's going to be a store tournament held every month, and then a special event, which happens every 3 months. Not sure exactly what that means, but, it will be determined at a later date. So here we see in October, Bleach and Hunter x Hunter will be releasing at the same time. And then every month following that, it is only currently set for one anime each month, which it does seem like a lot, but you don't need every single anime to play this game, because like I said before, you only can have one anime title in your deck. So if you want JJK, you can only play with JJK cards. Now, unless you're just a real fan of every single anime they put out, that's a whole different story, but it will just depend on how interested you are in all the animes that come out. Pre-release for every title, so I'm assuming it'd be just like for every other pre-release that Bandai does. You go to an event like a week before the actual cards come out. Like if this comes out, into November, the weekend before the last weekend of November, they have an event. You go there, you get a starter deck, or you get some packs, and you just make a deck out of it or something like that. When we get the pre-release rules, we'll go over that. And then store tournaments, volume 1, 2, 3, 4, and then special event. I'm assuming that if they have some type of championship event, they would base it off of, if you place high enough in the store tournament, or this special event is like a regional or something like that. All speculation, just because we don't have any information on that besides the pre-release event, which we'll cover in a different video. So moving on to the rules, we're going to just go over the main points of it all. They do have a little PDF thing on the website, but I kind of made my own little thing using some stuff from the PDF. So deck construction, you need a deck to play the game. You're going to need 3 action points, which if you buy a starter deck, you get 3 action points. I think each starter deck has their own individual action point thing, but also if you got the demo deck, you got action points. If you went to North American Championships, you did a special little scavenger hunt thing, you got some bleach action points or whatever, but they're going to be very easy to get. The deck construction, is 50 cards, like we had said before. All the cards must have the same source material, so like I said multiple times, Hunter, Bleach, you can only have those. No more than 4 copies of any card, and of any of the cards with the same card number. So down at the bottom, next to the rarity, it will have like BLC-1-106. That is the card number for that card, so you can have 4 of that card, just like any other game. And then another specific piece of that is there are cards that have certain trigger types. Special, color, final. You can only have 4 copies of each trigger type in the deck. So if you have 8 cards, 4 of them having one serial number, the other 4 having a different serial number, but if they both have a trigger that says special in there, you can only have 1 set of each. Or if you wanted to go 2 and 2, you can go 2 and 2. But you can only have 4 special, 4 color, and 4 final trigger type. So there's a little bit of specification there, makes it a little harder, quote unquote, for deck building. But decks consist of character cards, event cards, and site cards. There are technically 2 character card types. You have the regular character card type, which right here, where it's just gone. And then you have the raid type on the side, which raids are you play the card on top of a card with the same name. So the card on the right here is a Raid Gonfreeze. You have this Gonfreeze already on the field. You then pay 5 and play this on top of this card, performing a raid with it. You would then do the raid effect, all this and all that. Read the card, explains the card. Then we have event cards, where you pay it. You don't put a character on the field, you just do the effect. And then site cards, where they exist on the field and they can only be played on your energy line, which we'll cover that in the next slide. So yeah, characters, events, and site cards, and then technically AP cards, but AP cards don't go to your deck size amount. So you need to have 50 cards composed of character, events, and sites. Then we have the board layout. So generally basic information. You get your deck area, you get your trash, you get your life area, but then they have a removal area, which is different than the sideline. Sideline is your trash, but removal is a different area that pertains to certain effects on certain cards for certain animes. But there is a front line and a energy line. In order to play this game, you need energy. You play cards from your hand onto your energy line, then those produce energy. If you play a card onto the front line, you have an attacker and a defender on your front line, but they do not produce energy. You can only have 4 characters on your front line and 4 characters on your energy line. Then we have down here the AP area. AP area is where you put those 3 AP cards at. Depending on how, if you go first or second, you get 1 AP or you get 2 AP. Whenever you play a card, here we'll get this right. So here it's got 0 and action 1. That means in order to play this, you need 1 action point. So if you have 1 action point right here, you rest it and you can play out a card. So that's the general layout and a little info on the front line, energy line, and AP line. But every other area besides the removal area is pretty simple. Starting the game, shuffle your deck, determine who's going first or second, roll a die, high roll, whatever. Draw 7 cards. If you decide to mulligan, you have to put all 7 of those cards onto the bottom of your deck, then draw 7 new ones, then shuffle. Then you take the next 7 cards, put it into your life, and now you're ready to play. Pretty simple. There are game phases in this, so I guess it's more... I don't play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm pretty sure it's like Yu-Gi-Oh, like Magic has certain phases. Once you go past a phase, you can't go back. So unlike One Piece and Dragon Ball, where you just have a main phase and you can do a whole bunch of stuff in it, this one you have to take your time, and if you pass, if you go to your movement phase and then you finish your movement phase, you're into the main phase, but then you attack first, you've moved past the main phase and you can't do anything in the main phase. So just got to be careful of that. You don't want to, you can't play a card, attack, play another card. You can only play cards during your main phase, all this and all that. First is the start phase. You restand all your cards, but if you're going first, you're not going to restand anything, so everything becomes active. If it's the first turn, like the start of the game, and you're the first player, you don't get a card draw, but you get 1 action point. Then when the next player goes, they get 2 action points. Comes back to you, you get 2. Goes back to them, they keep 2. Comes back to you, you now have 3, and then they have 3, and all this and all that stuff. One thing to note here is, after you draw a card, you're then given an option of paying 1 action point to take an extra card draw. It can be effective, it can not be effective. It just really depends on what your strategy is for your deck. Next is the movement phase. So if you already have characters on the field on your energy line, like here, during your movement phase, you're able to move character cards to the front line. You cannot move field cards or site cards to the front line. There is a certain effect that some cards will have called step, meaning if you have them on the front line and they have step, during the movement phase, you can move them down to the energy line. There's not a lot of those from what I've seen. There might be a couple more. I might have missed them because it's all in Japanese. That is the only time you can move something from the front line to the energy line. Other than that, every single movement phase you have an option of moving a character up. The reason you'd want to move a character up is you played them... The first time you play them down, you're using them for energy to play something bigger down, and then on your next turn you need a little more attacks, so then you move that character up because you have a card to replace it in the energy line, something like that. Now we have the main phase, where basically a lot of stuff happens. So during the main phase, you can play a card, play a character card, play an event card, play a site card, perform raid. Whenever you play a card from your hand, you're playing it in rest mode. When it's played in your energy line, it produces energy, denoted by the little circle down here in the bottom. Based off of how much energy you have, you can play cards off of that. So here in the example, there's 3 energy because Killua makes 2, or not Killua, Kurapika makes 2, and Gon makes 1, so in your hand you can play a 0 cost character and then a 3 cost character. Characters on the front line don't produce energy, they're attackers or defenders. Then there's a raid ability, where you have, say if you have a character on your energy line, it's in rest mode, you perform raid with it by paying the cost, putting the raid character on top of the character with the same name. Most raid effects will have it switches to active, and then it can move to the front line, and then now you have an attacker. So just some way to get an attack off quicker, or it's a different way to think about it. Playing site cards, you just play a site card from your hand and rest mode to produce energy. It can't be moved to anything. It can't, it's just there. Event cards, you pay whatever energy it requires, rest the appropriate AP or action point card, and then do the effect. And then you can also use main abilities on cards if you have them. Activate main, follow the step, just read the card and do what it says. Activate main, you switch to resting, so you rest it, you pay an action point, so you rest an action point. Sideline, so you throw it to the sideline, and then you do the effect. All this stuff in underline and red you have to do first before you can do what the effect is. Then we move to the attack phase. You can only attack your opponent's character, your opponent directly. You cannot target character cards unless it has the effect snipe on there. Do when attackings, you do trigger when attacking effects when you declare an attack. Blockers in this game, there's not really any designated blockers. I mean, there's a couple, but every card is able to block. Certain cards have double block, so it can block once, restand, block again, but every card can block. If you declare an attack at an opponent, they block all this stuff over here. It's a lot of words, a lot of stuff. Basically, if you declare an attack on an opponent with a 4,000 power character, they block with a 3,000 power character. Their character dies, and then your character stays there. If you swing at them with a character with impact, they block with a 3,000 power character. That character dies that they blocked with, and then they take 1 damage because you have an impact effect. Impact means if you kill an opponent's character, they take the damage. And then they also have a damage 2 effect, where if they hit the opponent directly, they take 2 damage instead of 1, so they lose 2 life instead of 1. That's essentially what all this is. And obviously, if you swing at them with the 4,000 power character, they block with a 45. Your attack, doesn't go through. Both characters stay on the field. And then checking for triggers or damaging your opponent. If you swing at your opponent, they don't block. They take the hit. Your opponent takes the top life card, flips it up, so reveals it to the table, and then checks to see what the trigger is, and if it has a trigger, they can choose to do it or not, and then that card is then placed into the sideline area. So they do not get a card to hand whenever they lose a life, which is pretty interesting. Then we got the end phase. Any abilities with end phase happen all characters that are rested, so if you attacked with a character or any characters you played on the field, they all restand. Any resting AP cards stay rested. Then if you have 8 or more cards in your hand, you have to discard cards until you get down to 8. So if you have 9 cards in your hand, you have to throw away 1. And then any abilities that are active until the end of the turn become inactive, and then it's your opponent's turn. Here are all the card effects that we will have. You got Step, which we covered in the movement phase, where it can move from your front line down to your energy line. You got Snipe, which means your opponent is able to target one of your character cards. If the card does not have Snipe, they cannot target a character card. They can only target you. Then there's Double Attack, which is different than Damage 2. Double Attack is they swing once, it restands, and they can swing again. Double Block, they block once, it restands, they can block again. Impact 1 is whenever the card with impact kills an opponent's card, then it does damage to the opponent. Then there's Impact plus 1, which is an effect that can be given to a card. So it increases impact by 1. So if a card already has impact 1, it now has impact 2. But if the card does not have impact, it gains impact 1. Then there's damage 2. So whenever it's a 1 swing that takes 2 life if it hits the opponent directly. Then there's damage plus 1, which would make a card gain damage 2, or I guess damage 3. Then there's a nullify impact, where the character battling this card loses impact for the battle, which will be pretty important because from the demo decks and then the tester game, impact is really strong, especially when your opponent's on their last life, because winning the game means your opponent has no cards to draw on their draw step, or they have no life at all. So as soon as they hit 0, game over. Some other technical stuff: sidelanding a card does not classify as KOing a card. If something happens to the raid character card, then the card that is underneath it also is removed. Like if the raid character is removed to the sideline, the character underneath also goes to the sideline. When a character's card BP goes to 0, then it is not KO'd, it is simply just moved to the sideline. And then when multiple effects happen at the same time, the active turn player chooses the way that those effects happen. So that's pretty much what the game's about. That's about how you play the game. Obviously, you can go through the rules on your own on the website. I'll have a link for that down below. Next video, I'm going to be going over the super pre-release info that we have, talking about the Hunter starter deck, talking about the Bleach starter deck. This one seems like a game that I might play every now and again, just simply based off of what animes come out or not. I'm really a fan of Hunter, and then Bleach is always kind of cool. JJK seems pretty nice. I've kept up with the anime. But Hunter x Hunter is one that I've always enjoyed, so I will be picking up some Hunter cards. But let me know down below what anime you hope to come out, and just, let me know if you're interested in this game, because I might make more videos on it as the game progresses. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.